First of all, I want to thank everybody. And I send greetings from the OC. Uh, and I also want to thank De Anza College and Zitzi and Tammy and President Murphy for hosting this. I'm on the board of the North Orange County Community College District, and we had a meeting similar to this earlier in the year over at Fullerton College. So I really applaud De Anza folks for hosting this, and special thanks to Hoi Poon for inviting me down here, or up here. I want to share a little story with my son. He's in seventh grade, and he's getting to that age where the hormones are shooting in, and he's beginning to ask questions and make a lot of commentary about what he sees in the world. This past week was a focus on testing, on the CSTs, and last week his school had an assembly led by his principal, and the assembly was on test-taking skills. So he's telling me, he goes, "Dad, we spent 50 minutes going over all these test-taking skills," and he goes, "I know you've told me to listen to your teachers and your principal, but it was all about what to do when you get stuck and all these different strategies." And he goes, "I'm going to look back on this, and when I get stuck in life, I'm going to think about what my principal said, and that was, when you get stuck, choose the letter C." And that's kind of what this whole test train that we've been on for 10 years has devolved into. And as Bernie pointed out, I mean, the types of skills needed for America to compete and succeed and sustain our great economy are not being emphasized. And as I wrote in the San Jose Mercury News, it's not the fault of the teachers or the administrators, although some of them are pretty zealous about the API scores. It's and as Mike Honda said, it's the fault of all of us. And our zeal to hold our system and our folks accountable, we've created this Frankenstein monster. A good friend of mine, who's California English Teacher of the Year and author of 4 books, most recently a book called Readicide, Readicide, about how our schools are killing the love of reading. His name is Kelly Gallagher, and he speaks nationally at many of these forums. And he says that we are creating multiple choice test takers in an essay world. And you think about it a second, that's exactly true, because our kids are choosing the letter C when it doesn't make any sense. And they're figuring it out. And we're seeing the dropout rates and the achievement gap has been very persistent. Another friend of mine, Lori Olson, has written a book called Reparable Harm about how the system is creating long-term English learners. A lot of our young people are being trapped, and they're not improving. And by the time they get into community college, we're talking about what's basic skills, what's needed for college and careers, what skills are needed. It's really about writing and being able to think critically, right? So as Bernie pointed out, that there's a group, and what this is all about is called the Partnership for 21st Century Skills. It's a national partnership. And I'm co-chair with Michelle Herzog from LA County Office of Education for the state. And we have, a group of us came together, actually very similar to this group, about 50, 60 stakeholders out in Long Beach. It'll be a year ago in June, came together. So I'm going to tell real quickly how this came about, and in the last 30 seconds, hopefully, just tell you about the bills. But stakeholders were from the California science teachers, California math teachers, history, social studies, English teachers. We had the CFT there, one of the unions, political consultant for the state. We had AXA, those are the school administrators. We had higher ed folks. We had Julia Brownlee couldn't be there. She's the Assembly Ed chair, but her staff was there. And so we had a very engaged discussion, like Bernie started, in terms of what's wrong, what do we need, and we started to talk about strategically, where are we going, right? And it kind of focused on two things. Because there were people in there. I was formerly on the curriculum commission, so I'm very familiar with the textbook adoption and the frameworks and the cycles there. Because if you think about it, how do we get what Bernie just talked about? How do we get these skills, these critical thinking skills? How do we get creativity? How do we get communication and collaboration? These are skills identified by business and by education leaders nationally that we need if we're going to really succeed and continue to stay, keep our status as one of the top, as the top economy in the world. And what does that mean, right? How do you teach that? And where are the pressure points within the system? So we came up with two strategies, or two bills, right? One to go for the whole ball of wax. That is the Assembly Bill 250, AB 250, by Julia Brownlee, and that addresses state adoption, textbooks adoption. That addresses the assessments, which are aligned with the new Common Core. People may not be familiar with that, but that obviously is very vital to moving forward. And professional development for teachers. That one is going to cost some money, right? So there's real question whether that one gets through the appropriations next week. But we encourage you to go to the website and check that out and hopefully support that. It's on www.p21california.com. The other bill is sponsored by Senator Lou Correa, SB 402, and that's focused on the frameworks. Because if you think about it, the frameworks, a lot of the general public don't know what that is, but you've heard of the California content standards. The frameworks basically are contextualize the content standards, the scope and sequence, kind of how and why you're supposed to teach whatever you're supposed to teach at a certain grade. So the frameworks, what we put in there are the 4 C's: critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, communication. So where appropriate, that as the frameworks are adopted, those would be integrated into the textbook adoption. And that one seems to be flying through because we designed it as our insurance bill because it's revenue neutral, right? The state funds that on a on a cycle. So that one did pass appropriations. That's kind of where we are right now, but they are moving through. And I guess I'm going to have a chance to talk to you, those of you who are more interested in what you can do to help move these bills along. And also what you can do as, because our plan was to move from top down and bottom up. Because even if these bills pass, a lot of people are going to need to know about why this is important. These types of forums are really vital to moving, this big aircraft carrier forward called K-12 education. So, I hope you can join with us in joining this movement and get your local school districts to support it and pass resolutions, and as parents to start holding all of us accountable for moving us forward so we can sustain our position as the 8th largest economy in the world. Thank you very much. And I'm going to pass out the framework so you guys can take a look at it. And again, I encourage you to go to the website and get more information. So thank you.